What's good, ladies and gentlemen? It's RFG back at it today, and I'm here to go over this information pertaining to the all extraterrestrial races that inhabited and occupied this earth. I'm here to talk about all the specific deities, or all the major specific deities that came to this earth and started a genetic splicing program, and who their relatives are, all right, and what these beings' origin is, all right. I'm going to explain because from what the ancient texts say, they're saying that 22 so-called extraterrestrial races came to Earth to, harvest the resources and to expand their species population. All right. Now, I'm going to break this down with something very controversial. So I need people to listen very carefully. All right. And do your own research on this after you hear this information. Now, one of these beings that occupied Earth, all right, these beings were summoned through an interdimensional portal in Europe, and they're known as the Nordics. They're known as the Nordics, Nordics, the Nordics. All right. If you look at their physical appearance, this is how they're drawn out right here. But in reality, this is more so how they would look. All right. Very, very either blue or green eyes. Most of them have very large eyes, tall heads, long blonde hair, and they are extremely, extremely pale. All right. They're extremely, extremely pale. So this woman right here was interviewed in Europe, and she was saying that, her DNA is completely different from most other humans on the earth. And I'm going to explain why. And she was Rh negative. All right. I'm going to break that down. The original so-called Caucasoids that came to this earth, they were summoned through a interdimensional portal, and they had their own solar system. They had their own sun. They had their own moon. They had their own planet. They had their own world. All right. Their sun was a lot weaker. So their body, really wasn't prone to or wasn't used to absorbing massive amounts of radiation. All right. That's because they come from a totally different solar system, from a parallel universe. All right. The Nordics were summoned into this realm, on this earth, by the Kemetic god Amun. All right. They were summoned on this earth by the Kemetic god Amun. Amun is the god who wanted everybody in the world to worship him and him only. He took over Kemet in the 11th dynasty and proclaimed himself as a self-created god. You see, Amun is different from Ra. See, Ra is its own deity. Ra is self-created. Amun is not self-created. Amun looks like a humanoid god. All right. And he didn't show up until the 11th dynasty in Kemet, and he proclaimed himself as, an all-seeing, all-knowing creator god, just like Ra. All right. Amun wanted to be like Ra. So Amun changed his name to Amun-Ra. Amun changed his name to Amun-Ra, folks, because he wanted to be worshipped as an all-knowing, all-powerful creator god, and that he was not. Amun was just a jealous god who wanted to take power away from the humans on the earth, and he wanted to be worshipped as all-seeing and all-knowing. All right, that's why he changed his name to Amun-Ra. And Amun See, this is the nail in the coffin. Amun was known as Amon in ancient Ethiopia. In ancient Ethiopia, they called him Amun, and the ancient Greeks personified Amun as Zeus. The ancient Greeks called this deity right here Zeus. Go look it up. So when you worship Father Time, when you worship his son Jesus, when you worship that goddamn Bible, when you worship monotheism, that monotheist bullshit, this is who you're giving your energy to. All right? This is the real so-called Jesus. All right? The jealous God. This is Amun. This is why when you say your prayers, at night, all right, at the end of all your prayers, you say Amen, you're really paying homage to Amun. All right? Flat out. The gods over your Bible are jealous, hypocritical. They're jealous, hypocritical, contradictory gods. And they don't want humanity to reach their godlike state again. Guys better wake up. All right? Because now I'm about to prove it. So Amun summoned these Nordics from a parallel universe. All right? Summoned them from a parallel universe. And he told these Nordics that they could worship him and him only. You see? He told the Nordics that they can only worship him and him only. That's why it says that shit in the Bible, that you can only worship him and him only, because he's the jealous God. You see? Now, it gets deep. It gets deep, folks. It gets super, super deep, because these particular Nordics, they refer to Amun as Odin. All right, actually Thor. The Kemetic Thor would be the god Set and Amun. I believe Set is Amun's father. All right, I'm going to repeat that. I believe Set is Amun's father, and the Egyptologists, who are really Freemasons, they're keeping that secret. All right, because remember, it's father and son in the Bible, and then you have two demonic deities that had power in ancient Kemet. Two of them, like I said, were the Kemetic god Set and Amun. I believe they're father and son, and they both rule over thunder, lightning, and the electrical forces in this third dimensional realm. That is what Amun and the Kemetic god Set, that's what they have power over. They're the gods of thunder. You see what I'm saying? They call themselves the chief gods, the jealous gods. You see? The rulers over monotheism. So that basically means when you talk about the Norse gods, you're talking about the Nordics gods. The Nordics gods were Thor and Odin. All right, Thor and Odin, which is really Oshashango and Obatala. All right, and Oshashango and Obatala in ancient Kemet would be Set and Amun. Set and Amun. You see? So, you know, the Nordics referred to him as Thor, and they also referred to Set as Obatala. I mean, no, the Nordics referred to Set as Odin. All right, Set was Odin, and then Amun was Thor. All right, the chief jealous gods that rule over thunder, the lowest frequency of electric forces, all right, and lightning. And they are the jealous gods. You see? That's why all that monotheism shit, serving a God who doesn't want you to achieve godhood, that's when you fall under the vibration of the Nordics. All right, all that monotheism bullshit was created by the jealous gods for the Nordics. All right, you guys better wake up. And here comes the proof right here. See, I don't talk out of the side of my neck. I don't talk out of my ass. The Tuatha De Danann. I want everybody to go research the Tuatha De Danann. The Tuatha De Danann were beings that basically just magically showed up in Europe, in Ireland. All right, and the Tuatha De Danann, their enemies were the Fomorians. Now, why is that significant for me to say the Tuatha De Danann, their enemies were the Fomorians? Because it's already been proven through etymological history and the hieroglyphics of the Celtic, of the Celtic temples. If you go into the Celtic temples in Ireland and you look at those hieroglyphics, it's already been proven that the Fomorians are melanated people. The Fomorians are heavily melanated gods, melanated giants who were Atlanteans. So the Tuatha De Danann just showed up out of nowhere in Ireland, and they overthrew. They went to war with the Fomorians and knocked their towers down, stole ancient artifacts, took their power source away, and defeated the Fomorians. All right, so the Tuatha De Danann are the Nordics who were summoned through an interdimensional portal in Europe by the god Ammon. All right, and they were told that they could only worship the jealous gods over that Bible. All right, so right here we're about to put the nail in the coffin. The Tuatha De Danann dwell in the other world, all right, but interact with humans and the human world. So right here off the top, it clearly states that the Tuatha De Danann are not human and they are not of the human world. The Tuatha De Danann are not human and they are not of the human world. They are not of nature, all right? And they dwell in the other world. The other world is the world from the parallel universe, the solar system from the parallel universe. All right? That's the other world. Now, this is what they're going to tell you. In Celtic mythology, the other world is the realm of deities and possibly also of the dead. So they're not even sure if it's the realm of the dead, because they said possibly also. So possibly means that they don't know if it's the realm of the dead. I'm telling you right now that the other world is a parallel dimension, a parallel universe, that the Nordics were summoned by the god Ammon, and they were summoned into this world, all right, so they could worship the jealous god Ammon and Set. All right, plain and simple, plain and simple. So once again, the Nordics are not of this universe, they are not of this realm, and they are the Tuatha De Danann, plain and simple. All right, and they are not humans, and they are not of the human world. They are also enemies. They are also enemies of the Fomorians, and it's been proven historically, archaeologically, and through etymological history that the Fomorians are heavily melanated gods and heavily melanated giants that were Atlanteans. Okay, all right. So this is where shit's gonna get deep. Now, when the god Ammon summoned the Nordics from the portal, the Nordics noticed that they were outnumbered by carbonated people on the earth. The Nordics noticed that they were heavily outnumbered. So Amun did something to help the Nordics out. He increased their population through genetic splicing. All right? There was a genetic splicing program that took place on the earth. You had these Nordics had their genetics grafted with other animals to spread out the Caucasian population on the earth. All right? They needed to increase the Caucasian population on the earth. So what they did was they took the DNA of the Nordics and then they went to certain animals, all right, and started splicing those genes, those animal genes with the Nordics to get you your modern day Caucasian. All right? All right? Plain and simple. How can we prove this? Guess what? You in for a treat today, because RFG is going to prove this shit through so-called science. All right? There is something called a RH factor, correct? Which genealogically and biologically proves that somehow the rhesus monkey protein now inhabits 85% of the human genome in the world, right? Okay, so the Nordics had their blood spliced with RH monkeys, right? And there's also a so-called genetic anomaly called hypertrichosis. Hypertrichosis is when a person starts growing animal fur, all right? This is not hair. Folks, this is not hair. This is fur. This is fur. This is animal fur. You guys better wake the fuck up. This is animal fur. If your hair doesn't spiral, if your hair is not in a naturally wavy or spiral motion, it ain't hair. It's fur. All right? All right? Plain and simple. Like I said, there are many cases of hypertrichosis. Hypertrichosis all over the world. All over the world. All right? You have hypertrichosis. You have cutaneous horns. Okay? Because Amun was splicing chimpanzee DNA, RH monkey DNA, lemur DNA, canine DNA, rodent DNA, okay, and goat DNA, ram DNA, lamb and sheep DNA into the Nordic bloodline. Amun also used the Yunnan snub-nosed monkey. All right, the Asian genome comes from the Yunnan snub-nosed monkey. All right, so Asians have 3 different bloodlines. They have the Asiatic Mer in their blood. They have the Yunnan snub-nosed monkey in their blood, and then some of them have a piece of that Nordic blood as well. All right, so right here you can look up for yourself. Cutaneous horns. Cutaneous horns are horns that are actually growing out of people across the world naturally. Now, for this to happen, this means that somewhere down the line in these people's genetics, somebody was spliced with goat or ram DNA. Plain and simple. All right? I have a picture on my Instagram. I have a picture of an Asian man with a giant horn, a giant ram or goat horn coming out of the back of his head. All right? And it was the biggest horn that grew out of a human that was ever recorded. I have a picture of it on my Instagram. All right? Public. All right? Right here, look, cutaneous horns. You see, mainstream science is going to lie and say that, oh, this is just the same This is the same material of fingernails. Okay, yeah, the horns on the animals, it is made out of the same material as human fingernails. But guess what? That doesn't explain why these people have animal horns growing out of their bodies, growing out of their heads. You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? Flat out. Flat the fuck out. So you can research this yourself. All right. So Amun was splicing Nordic DNA with chimpanzee, RH monkey, canine, lemur, rodent, and also ostrich DNA in certain humans. And this was all to increase the Caucasian population on the earth. All right. And this is where you get, you see what I'm saying? This is where you get your modern day Caucasian. All right. I say 85% of the modern day Caucasian, they are of Nordic. They have 3 different things in their blood. They have Nordic. They have some melanated blood through years of intermixing, and then they have a piece of that animal DNA. All right. And another thing, over 15% of Caucasians and East Indians, all right, are born with tails. Over 15% of Caucasians and other East Indians, all right, they are born with tails that have to be cut off at birth. You think I'm bullshitting? Just go research it. All these vestigial features, prove the genetic splicing program that Amun created to increase the Caucasian population on the earth. All right. Now, like I said, there's going to be 2 different kinds of Caucasian. There's going to be the Caucasian that has enough melanin in his blood. Okay. There's going to be the Caucasian that has enough melanin in their blood to survive in sunlight. All right. There's Caucasians who can survive in the sunlight. And that means that they were born with a portion of neuromelanin in their blood. All right. But then there are other Caucasians who have more of the Nordic bloodline in their genome. And for the Caucasians with more of that Nordic bloodline in their genome, they're not able to take the sunlight. All right. They get sunburn and skin cancer from sunlight. All right. And that's because they have mostly the Nordic bloodline. You see? And the Nordics can't take no goddamn sunlight. Why? Why is that? Because the Nordics are not natural and are not organic to this earth or to this realm. All right. This is why the Nordics live in a layer of inner earth. This is why it has been stated by multiple military personnel that the Nordics occupy a certain layer of inner earth. It's because they can't take the outer sun. They can't take the energy or the frequency of the outer sun. All right. They were biochemically created. They were biochemically created to occupy and live in on a totally different planet with a totally different sun, All right. This is why all plant life and all animals on the earth can take sunlight and have a form of neuromelanin. All right. All plant life, even the goddamn bacteria on the earth can take the sunlight. But you mean to tell me that the Nordics can't? That, like I said, that in itself just backs this up. And the only reason I believe that the Tuatha De Danann, the Nordics were able to mix their bloodline with melanated people was because the god Amun had to have genetically altered the Nordic genetics to be able to bind with the genetics of melanated people. You see, I think Amun somehow went into the Nordic bloodline and enhanced their DNA, genetically enhanced their DNA to where it was able to bind and fuse and mix with the Atlanteans, all right, the melanated people on the earth, all right? Because I do believe that the Nordics and the Atlanteans started out as two different species, all right, because they're from two completely different universes, different realms, all right? But like I said, you have Caucasians that have a form of neuromelanin in their DNA, all right, but they are still hybrid. But they, there's some of them who have neuromelanin in their DNA, and those ones are able to take the sunlight. The Caucasians who have more of the Nordic DNA, they're not going to be able to take sunlight. All right. So that basically breaks down the whole history of the Nordics and the Caucasian population on the earth. Now I'm getting ready to break down this whole Sirius thing. All right. You have Sirius A, which is Sigitolo. You have Sirius B, which is Potolo. You have Sirius C, which is Imiatolo. And then you have Xylanthia, the planet that orbits around Sirius C. Xylanthia is really Nyontolo. And I'm going to tell you the beings that occupy Nyontolo and the beings that occupy this planet that orbits Sirius B. All right. So when you look at the Sirius star constellation, there's going to be a multitude of gods, all right, that occupy that star constellation. One of which is the Anunnaki, all right, the original Elohim, the Elohim or the Anunnaki, and they're going to appear as large, giant, heavily melanated gods. All right, many of them are either going to have long dreadlocks or, you're going to see the elongated hook head. All right. And they're going to have, definite supernatural abilities, supernatural powers, interdimensional powers. They're going to be operating on a whole different light frequency than most humans on the earth. All right. And yes, they are giants. The movie The Predator, they were talking about the original Anunnaki and Elohim. That's why they gave the Predator melanated dreadlocks, you see, and had him speak in chirping noises, because the chirping noises that the Predator was speaking was Medu Neter, because there's no vowels. There's no vowels in the Medu Neter. So when you speak Medu Neter, it is just a chirping noise, okay? Because that is why they had the Predator speak through the chirping noises. It's Medu Neter. They're trying to, depict the melanated gods from Sirius, and they gave the Predator an insectoid face, the face of an insectoid, to try to throw us off. No, the insectoids live in inner Earth, and they originally occupied Saturn, the insectoids. You see, Hollywood tried to give us the truth, but then confuse us at the same time. All right. There's also a group of beings on the Sirius star constellation. They're known as the Nagas. They're heavily melanated gods with human upper bodies and serpent lower bodies. All right. Now, you had cultures all around the world that made statues and paid homage to these deities. You had statues in Asia, in East Asia, of the god Nua, of the goddess Nua, who was a serpent goddess. You have the Haitians, all right, in the Vodun theology. They pay homage to Damballa, All right, and Damballa is one of the Nagas. Then you have the folklore of Medusa, and Medusa was an Amazonian goddess who was one of the Nagas, you know, who was a humanoid serpent-like being. And then, of course, you have the Nagas statues in East India. You see, the Nagas were paid homage to all over the world. All right. You know, our ancestors didn't make these statues and hieroglyphics for no goddamn reason. You see, the agent provocateurs are the archaeologists and the Egyptologists. Those are the agent provocateurs, because they're going to sit up here and tell us that, oh, you know, yeah, your ancestors did make statues of beings who were, you know, half human, half serpent. And yeah, they did make statues, and they did personify beings that were half human, half fish, and beings that were half human, half serpents. And you know, they did personify beings that were half human and half bird. You know, but you know, that wasn't literal. You know, the ancestors, yeah, you know, they drew that stuff. They took hours and days and years to, you know, to put this stuff on walls, but it wasn't literal. But you know, it wasn't literal. It just stood for certain things. It stood for certain emotions. It stood for certain aspects about ourselves. It wasn't literal. You know, this stuff, no, it wasn't literal. You see, that's the mind fuck that the archaeologists and the Egyptologists want us to buy into. You see, but not here, not on this goddamn channel. Oh, no, because goddamn it, RFG has the proof of genetic splicing. All right, RFG has the proof of genetic splicing, of gene splicing. All right, and if you want more proof, just look up the Vodoma tribe in Africa. Every member of the Vodoma tribe has ostrich feet. And how the fuck do you explain that? You know, scientists, paleontologists, all the enlightened Egyptologists who think our ancestors depicted these beings just because they wanted to, just because they got up one day and thought it would be cool. You guys better wake the hell up. So we have the original Anunnaki Elohim that were giant carbonated gods with either elongated hook heads or very long dreadlocks. Right? Then we had the Nagas that also occupy the Sirius star constellation. We also have a group of beings known as the Nomos or the Nomo. All right, the Dogon tribe can tell you everything you need to know about the Nomo. The whole mermaid and merman theology. That is the Nomo that come from Sirius. That's why in Latin, in the Latin language and in the Spanish language, how do you say mermaid? Sirena, because the original mermaids come from Sirius and they were the Nomo, okay? That's a little etymological lesson for the sheeple out there. All right, you also have a group of beings that occupy Sirius that are feline humanoid, and this was depicted by the goddess Sekhmet and Bastet in ancient Kemet. All right, once again, our ancestors were not drawing these things and carving these things into hieroglyphic walls for no fucking reason. They were depicting beings that they actually interacted with and communicated with. All right, flat out. Then you have the blue avians. All right, the blue avian was the god Thoth. The chief blue avian was the god Thoth. The blue avians occupy the 7th and the 9th dimensions. The blue avians are actually above the goddamn Syrians. I'm going to repeat that. You see, these gods, all right, these feline gods, the Nomo, the serpent gods, and the Elohim, they're in the 5th dimension. They occupy Sirius. But when you talk about the blue avians are basically some of the highest deities as far as the hierarchy of the gods. They're one of the highest in rank. These beings occupy the 7th and the 9th dimensions. The god Thoth was also responsible for building the pyramids on multiple planets. The god Thoth was responsible for the architecture of multiple pyramids on multiple planets. All right. So was the god Asar, but the god Thoth was the one who laid out the blueprint, who actually laid out the architectural plan to build those pyramids. And Thoth was a blue avian. If you think that's bullshit, not only did they depict the bird head gods in Egypt, they also depicted the bird head gods in Sumeria, all right, in the ancient Middle East, in ancient Iraq. All right, ancient Sumeria, you had the bird head gods, all right, but they confused it and they thought it was the Anunnaki, but it was the blue avians. All right. So multiple cultures knew about these beings and took night, days, weeks, months, and years to carve this shit into hieroglyphic walls. And ain't nobody gonna sit here and tell me that our ancestors put that blood, sweat, and tears into this architecture and depicted these beings just because they wanted to, for no goddamn reason. I'm not buying it. They interacted with these beings, plain and simple. Plain and simple. All right. And if you don't think genetic splicing is real, like I said, just rewind my earlier statements in this video and the pictures that I presented. All right. So this one is really gonna get interesting. All right. Now we're gonna touch on. See, we're done with the Syrians. Now we're gonna touch on the insectoids. All right. A lot of people think that the whole insectoid thing is bullshit, that there's no group of extraterrestrials that are insectoid, humanoid-like beings. All right. Now, if you think that's bullshit, there exists a god in ancient Kemet called Khepri. Go research the ancient god in Kemet called Khepri. Now, Khepri, this is what this is what the Freemason archaeologists are going to tell you what Khepri represented. This is what the Freemasonic Egyptologists are going to tell you what Khepri represented. They're going to say it was a god to insects. Khepri was strongly connected to the sun and was a self-created god. All right, which was associated with the sun and the morning and the sun moving through the sky. Folks, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Bullshit. Our ancestors depicted what the fuck they really saw with their physical eyes and with the third eye. All right? And when you look at things with your third eye, you see real beings in different realms. So this is how the fuck these beings really looked. You see? So right here, we have a depiction of what many people who get kidnapped and who basically experience alien abduction. There are many people, thousands of people across the world that report being abducted by insectoid beings. All right? They report being abducted by insectoid beings. So are all these thousands and thousands of people just making this shit up? You know what I'm saying? When most of them have no money to make off of the goddamn claim, most of the people who claim to be abducted, they have no opportunity of financial gain off of that claim. So, like I said, when you just put the pieces of the puzzle together, you know, the shit becomes real easy to see for yourself. And if you want to have a better understanding of who the god Khepri really is, subscribe to my Patreon account. I go into exact detail of who Khepri really is. The link is in the description. All right? These are the deities that are enslaving humanity. You have the insectoids that have origin to the planet Saturn, to one of the moons that occupy Saturn. All right, that is the origin of the insectoids, and they live in inner Earth as well as one of the moons of Saturn. All right, Saturn used to be a star until it fell into a gas planet. All right, and then we have the Greys. The Greys are the future of mankind. All right, the future of humanity and mankind. The people who were fooled by the New World Order on this earth and fused themselves with artificial technology. I'm going to repeat myself. We today, in this day and age, we are being faced with transhumanism and artificial technology. So after so many vaccines, and after so many genetic alterations and genetic modifications to the human body will lose the ability to procreate naturally. The human body will lose the ability to absorb natural organic nutrients from plants. All right? That's what they want to take away from us. All right? And when this happens to us, we're going to lose our body mass. We're going to lose the hue and the color in our skin. And we're going to lose our genitalia. And we're going to lose our digestive system. This is why the Greys have no digestive system. They have no reproductive organs. And it is always stated that they give off a very foul odor. Because the Greys, they excrete their waste through the pores in their skin because they have no digestive system. So they don't even eat. This is why their mouth is so small, because they don't even eat. All they do is inject nutrients into their body. Okay? All right? And this is what they want humanity to be like. All right? So 150 years down the line, this is humanity. All right, fusing themselves with artificial technology and losing their soul. These are the humans that lost their soul after they became slaves to the New World Order and transhumanism. And the Greys, the Greys went back in time and are now trying to get their soul back. That's why they're kidnapping humans today. They're abducting and kidnapping humans today, because they're trying to take the neuromelanin from that human and bind it with themselves so they can become human and have a soul as well. All right? This is what's going on. So your threats to humanity are the insectoids, the Greys, and the Alpha Draconians. Now the Alpha Draconians are basically the Nagas and the Elohim that don't like humans. You see, there's a group of good and bad in every group. There's good and bad in every group. So when you look at the Nagas and the the Anunnaki or the Elohim, the so-called evil Anunnaki or the so-called evil Nagas, they would be seen as the Alpha Draconians. All right? And they also occupy inner Earth. But I'm a firm believer that the most powerful of the foes to humanity would be the insectoids. All right. It would go from the insectoids to the alpha draconians, then to the greys. All right. Then to the warlocks that are the chief commanders of the corporation over the earth, all right, which is the fake monetary system. You see, these beings have humanity trapped with money. You see, they fooled us to give all our power to money instead of nature and the cosmos. You see, but God damn it, like I said, you got people like me that were literally born to relay this information to the masses, who were literally born to tap into these forms of dark alchemy and hidden wisdom that's been hidden from humanity for thousands of years. All right. And I'm going to link up with like-minded people in the very near future, and we're going to be performing these alchemical and metaphysical experiments. All right. And I'm going to try to weigh the soul and just to perform rituals so the human body will escape reincarnation after death. That is how you beat these bastards right here. All right. You know what I'm saying? People talking all this black white shit. Whoopty wop wop wop. I went over the whole genetic splicing history of the humanity on the earth. You either have neuromelanin in your body, you either have neuromelanin in your blood, or you don't. All right. And if you have neuromelanin in your blood, which is 85% of the world, all right, these are your enemies. All right. So, with that being said, that's all I had to say on this subject. I hope I was able to answer most of everyone's questions on this particular topic. I appreciate everyone who supports RFG and Atlantean movement. If you want to see more in-depth, in detail videos by request, just subscribe to the Patreon account. The link is in the description. All right. So I appreciate everyone who has supported RFG and Atlantean movement. Please like, share, and subscribe. This is the Chosen One, man. I'm out.